Your BMW's wheel hub assembly is an extremely intricate system that has many moving parts that allow it to work. But there's one small part that often gets overlooked that can cause a world of headache if it's not replaced before it goes bad. So in today's video, we'll be showing you how to replace this part and explain to you why it becomes such a large issue over time. So the first thing we'll do with the vehicle on the ground is loosen all of the torque from the lug nuts without removing them. And now we can go ahead and slide a jack underneath the approved jack points on the vehicle while making sure that the jack pad is fully flush and not damaging the side skirts. And this is exactly what we're looking for. The wheel is now fully off the ground with just enough room to remove it. And now from here, we'll fully remove the lug nuts going in a star pattern as we pull them from the vehicle. And so there goes lug nut number 1. And now we'll come across to lug nut number 2 and remove that one. Now lug nut number 3 across from there, and lug nut number 4. And now that we have one lug nut left holding the wheel onto the wheel hub assembly, we're going to use our hand to brace the wheel so it doesn't fall forward as we pull off the last one. Perfect, and just apply pressure onto the face of the wheel to hold it up. And now we'll pull off our last lug nut and carefully remove the wheel, ensuring that we don't damage the caliper or drop it on its face. Perfect, and now we can show you where the problem part that we're replacing is. This tiny little screw here is the rotor retention screw and is responsible for holding up the weight of the rotor onto the wheel hub assembly. So that means the entire weight from the brake caliper and the entire weight from the rotor basically rests all on this tiny little screw that holds everything into place so it doesn't fly off while you're driving. Now the problem is all of the heat buildup from our brake system and our wheel hub assembly all finds its way to this tiny little screw. And so on top of the massive amount of weight that it already has on it, it gets an absolutely enormous amount of heat buildup onto it as well. And now you can see along the face of our rotor we have a good amount of surface rust, and that's due to all the different elements taking their toll on the metal material over time, which causes it to rust and seize into place. And now if we actually look very close inside of this screw, we can see that the threads that we insert the socket into to remove it are already pretty beat up and pose a chance of stripping out. And so basically all of these different factors we talk about become a massive issue because this tiny little screw starts to get worn out, and then when you go to remove it, it strips, meaning that you actually have to drill a hole inside of here just to pull it off. And that can lead to such a large headache. So this part basically gets abused, used, and neglected. And so what we're going to do now is remove this old factory one so we can upgrade it. And all you're going to need for this is a 6mm hex socket on a ratchet. And so we're going to line up our hex socket completely flush and straight. And then we'll get a free hand and hold the rotor into place so it doesn't spin around. And now we'll go ahead and loosen it counterclockwise to remove that rotor retention screw. And luckily, by the grace of God, this thing came out easily without any issues. And you guys can see this thing is in absolutely disgusting condition. There's corrosion all over it. You can see orange spots of rust all throughout. There's gunk on all of the threads. There's brake dust buildup on the top of it. I am extremely surprised that our old factory retention screw came off as easy as it did, because by looking at it, I don't know how it didn't seize into place and how we're not having to drill it out. And again, guys, this is extremely common to happen because people always neglect replacing this part. And it is an absolutely disgusting shape. So it's a good thing we went to remove this preemptively before it caused us any issues, because again, we're basically on borrowed time here. Who knows when it would have rusted and seized to the actual wheel hub assembly. And once your rotor screws get to this point, there's no such thing as just applying anti-seize to it, because even if you apply anti-seize to the threads, you can actually see the base of the screw is completely covered in this bright orange and white rust that could have caused it to seize permanently. But again, we caught it just in the nick of time. And so now that we've removed our old, disgusting, and tarnished factory rotor retention screw, we'll be upgrading it to this brand new corrosion resistant stainless steel set. And something you can notice right off the bat is these new stainless steel retention screws have a much deeper hex socket hole. So if you look at the factory one, you can actually see it's rather shallow, and that drastically increases the chances of this thing stripping out when you go to remove it. On our new hex socket hole, you can see it's actually wedged and much deeper, so our socket can get deeper inside of there, which in turn lowers the chances of this thing stripping. And you can see if I insert the socket inside of the new retention screws, there's almost no play. But on the factory one, you can see there's a massive amount of play, which again, guys, increases the chances of this stripping. And on top of that, something you can see with our old factory retention screws is that the threads look much more dull and rounded off. On the new ones, it actually looks much sharper, which should allow our new screws to actually bite down even deeper, holding our rotor into place for better stability. Without further ado, let's go ahead and install our brand new upgraded rotor screws. And now I highly recommend an anti-seize product just like this one here. All you're going to do is apply a generous coating onto the actual screw itself. And what this will do is help prevent the screw from rusting into the wheel hub assembly over time. It just gives us a fail-safe so the new screws don't seize. And now you want to be sure to apply that anti-seize to the threads, but as well apply it to the base of the screw, because remember our old screw had that orange corrosion and rust all along the base. Perfect. And from here we're going to hand tighten our screw into place just to make sure it fits like factory, and then we'll loosen it out the same way so we can kind of spread that anti-seize around inside of the holes and make sure that the fitment is perfectly good. And now after confirming it goes in and out exactly how it should, we'll go ahead and fully tighten it down. And so we'll line up our 6mm hex socket, and then we'll place one hand on the rotor to prevent it from spinning as we tighten. And then we'll torque this down to 12 foot-pounds of torque. And do not over tighten it. I actually bought 2 sets of these screws just to make this exact point. Do not over tighten the screws or this will happen to you. The head will snap off or it will strip. What I basically did was I installed that 6mm hex socket into place and then tightened down as absolutely hard as I possibly could. And what happened was the head of it broke off. The reason I did this was to prove the point to you that the factory screws, when they rust and seize into place, will typically break off, and this will happen to you. You'll have just the threaded part of the screw stuck inside of the hole. And so now if this happens to you, do not worry. We're going to show you exactly how to fix it right now. So if your screw breaks or strips off, you want to treat it in this exact way. Heat, shock, and then some sort of penetrating oil. And now since I don't have a flame torch with me, I'm just going to cut straight to the shock. So what you're going to do is grab a flathead screwdriver and a hammer and then simply tap out the broken threaded part that's inside of our wheel hub assembly. You'll tap it out counterclockwise. So since the head has broken off, there's nothing actually holding down weight onto the screw. We should be able to simply tap it out of place, assuming that we've broke the corrosion free. So simply grab that flathead screwdriver, and again, we'll just keep on tapping in a counterclockwise motion. And just like that, we're able to actually remove the broken off piece from our wheel hub assembly. So if your factory rotor retention screws break off inside of the wheel hub assembly, just use a flathead screwdriver and a hammer and then tap it in a counterclockwise motion until you're able to remove the broken off portion. And that being said, I had to put a massive amount of force just to make this happen on our brand new screws. You can see it actually broke off into 2 pieces because the new threads are so much deeper for the socket to go into. It broke clean in half because I tightened it down as absolutely hard as I could to prove this point to y'all. But now that I was able to help you out by showing you what could happen to your old factory screws if they do break, and emphasizing the point to not over tighten the new screws past 12 foot-pounds of torque, now I'll go ahead and install them properly how they're supposed to be installed. So we'll simply just screw our new one into place and then tighten it down to 12 foot-pounds and act as if nothing happened. And now even though this is such a tiny upgrade, it looks worlds better than it did before. We went from this old, disgusting, rusted rotor retention screw to a brand new and shiny silver one. And even though it is a small upgrade, it really does freshen up the look of our brake system, especially if you're installing new rotors or calipers. And now with our new screw installed, we can simply reinstall the wheel the same exact way that we removed it. And so we'll go ahead and tighten down the first lug nut to hold the wheel into place. And now we'll go in a star pattern to evenly distribute the weight from the wheel to the wheel hub assembly. So we installed lug nut number 2 directly across from the first one, and now we'll shoot across from that one and install lug nut number 3. And now the 4th one, and our final one. And now we'll give these all one last firm tightening. And after that, with the vehicle back on the ground, simply re-torque everything down to the proper torque specs. And we've effectively just future-proofed our BMW's reliability by replacing a part that's known to go bad before it goes bad. And now we'll do the same exact process and upgrade the retention screw on all of the other wheels. And a couple quick pro tips for doing this job on the rear wheels. You need to be sure that the emergency parking brake is fully in the downwards position. If the parking brake is up, what's going to happen is the rear brakes are going to pull the entire rotor forward and it's not going to line up properly. So if you want to save yourself from a world of headache next time you service your brakes, calipers, rotors, wheels, whatever, then upgrading your old, worn out factory rotor retention screws for a brand new set of corrosion resistant ones is an easy way to do just that and keep you on the road. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button to take advantage of more helpful BMW videos like this one that'll help you save time and money.